Solutions and Gia Modern Technologies Private Limited. The title of the webinar is Redefining Teaching and Learning in the Times of COVID-19. It is most apt in the present times as the education ecosystem is facing the challenge of ensuring learning and of students and teachers. We are fortunate to have a panel of educators who work in different capacities and will provide us a 360-degree view of what is happening in schools, the challenges that all the stakeholders are facing, and the possible solutions. Before we start the panel discussion, I'll quickly share the structure of the webinar. First of all, panelists will share their experiences. Then Shilpa Thakral will consolidate the insights gained from the panelists. Then we'll open the webinar for question and answer round. And after that, at 5:25, we will hold a concluding remark session. We'll close the discussion at 5:30. I request all of you to keep writing your questions in the meantime. Now, I would like to request Mr. Jagjit Singh to speak about the challenges and problems related to online education programs faced by various stakeholders. Mr. Jagjit Singh is a visionary and dynamic educationist who literally shaped the educational movement in the state of Punjab. He is the chairperson of Federation of B.Ed and D.L.Ed colleges in the state of Punjab. He is the recipient of International Gold Star Millennium Award. He is also the coordinator of Punjab State Eligibility Test and conducted this test for 4 times. He has always worked to provide a quantum leap towards all the challenges and difficulties faced in the education sector and hold the caliber to work on the betterment of everyday challenges. Mr. Singh.
Good evening, everyone. So, as per the topic of the webinar, that what challenges we are facing, especially the schools and teachers. First of all, I will discuss about these challenges. So, because I'm the first speaker, so it's my duty to put a light that what problems being an educator, being running schools and colleges. So what I feel is that the problem which we have is only one problem, that we are trying to teach students of tomorrow with the teachers of yesterday. Actually, the major problem which I feel in the online teaching and learning is that our teachers are not trained. The reason behind that is because I'm the chairperson of all B.Ed colleges in the state of Punjab, and I am also running the B.Ed colleges. So what I feel is that the teacher training courses which we run in our B.Ed colleges and elementary training institutions, so they cannot produce such teachers who can teach the students of the 21st century. Because I have seen the curriculum of the B.Ed, there is just one subject, that is technology. But even till now, the teachers do their course with the help of models, charts, overhead projectors, by the only traditional methods. So the teacher which we are producing, they are not able to teach such smart skills which we have in our schools. So this is the major problem which I feel is the biggest hurdle for providing online teaching and learning. And the second problem which I feel is that the principals and teachers who are 45 plus having the age, so they feel that they cannot upgrade themselves, because that time when they were in study, when they were doing B.Ed, so they were not familiar with the technology. So according to me, so sometimes they also create some hurdles. They are not ready to accept the challenges. They are not ready to adopt teaching by online. So this is the second hurdle which I feel that the schools and school leaders are facing. The next one, which problem I feel is that now sudden, due to this sudden corona problem, because students were at home, teachers suddenly, we have to announce the holidays to the teachers. So what happened? No one was ready for online teaching and learning, because the reason is that even the private schools which claim that they are very high tech and have the everything with them and have the technology also, even before this problem, no one was using the online teaching. Only we can say 5 to 10% student schools are there who were using online teaching. So if we want to meet this problem or want to resolve this problem, then we should add such practices in the routine teaching also, that the online teaching and learning should be the part of our curriculum delivery. So then only we can meet such problems. So what I am feeling is that the teachers which we have, they are not digital literate properly. So according to me, this is the biggest hurdle in present. Otherwise, technology and other equipment, so then those things can be managed. So what I feel is that teachers must be trained, because in our schools, what we do generally, we call the resource persons. They train the teachers for that only content, but now the time demands that the special seminars and training and workshops must be conducted, so that the teachers must be digital literate. And the second thing is about the parents and the students, because parents and students, there is not a big problem. Only some technical problems are there, just like Wi-Fi connections and now equipments. The main problem the parents which they are facing is that before these vacations, we cannot say it's a vacation, it's a lockdown. So they were asking the teachers to give some guidance to the students because they were using mobile too much. But now situation is adverse. Now they themselves have to hand over such things to the students. So parents are confused that what they have to do, because the students of third, fourth, and these standards, and then teenagers. So they are worried about that if they will use mobiles for online classes or online technology, then they are not sure about that which type of effect it will put on the students, because technology is the only mean now, because students are at home. So it's the only way of online teaching and learning by which we can resolve this problem. The third thing is that I have some suggestions regarding this online teaching and learning also. First of all, our government should change a little bit curriculum in the B.Ed courses also. That course must be online courses also, there must be, because the observation lectures, lesson planning, nowadays even it's in the same way as we have already from the last 50 or 60 years. So according to me, the second thing which I have a suggestion for the teachers who are presently teaching on online, there is one difference between live classes and online classes. Suppose I am a teacher, earlier I was teaching in the classroom, then sometimes I was giving some homework to the students, that this assignment you have to solve with the help of internet. But if you now are teaching in the classes online, then at least we should give such an assignment to the students that they should do it practically. The physical involvement must be there, or otherwise it should be learning by doing. So this is my suggestion for the teachers, and hope that this problem which the lockdown has come, So take it as that lockdown is not a problem, but it is an opportunity. So we all should learn in this problem that to take this problem as an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for clearly articulating the concerns and issues faced by the education system and its stakeholders. Now, the next set of speakers on our panel are Ms. Rajni Johri and Ms. Prerna Srinivasan. Ms. Rajni Johri is the principal and director of Bharat Ram Global School. She is a certified trainer of multiple intelligence from Multiple Intelligences Research and Consulting USA. She is an educationist with 30 years of profound experience. Our second panelist, Ms. Prerna, she has been in the field of education for more than 17 years and in the area of teacher education since the last 7 years. She is one of the founding members of I Am a Teacher and is head of academics at I Am a Teacher, Mumbai branch. She is trained in systems thinking and experiential education and has worked with some of the most progressive schools and organizations in our country like Shikshantar School, the Heritage School, Gurgaon, the Teacher Foundation Bangalore, and Azim Premji Foundation. They both are going to talk about the methods that the school are adopting to provide opportunities of learning to students in the present situation. They will also share their challenges while executing these online programs and how they cope up with these challenges in the present scenario. So we will begin with Ms. Rajni Johri.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I think the lockdown, as the previous speaker just said, that it is an opportunity. Yes, I also take it as an opportunity, and because everything happened so sudden that rightly said, we were not prepared for it. And even the best of schools that say that we have online education, they believe that on a smart board, if you're able to play your video and show it to children, that's online. So I think never ever have we ever thought of giving any homework through online or even giving any classwork assignment. They have been surfing the net, no doubt about it. They have been surfing the net and they have been doing their projects, but I don't think we went ever beyond this. Maybe the international baccalaureate schools would be doing better than what we are doing, the normal public schools. So the problem that I was facing during the lockdown, one very rightly said again, the teacher training, because teachers, they may be using technology in the sense they are using emails, they use WhatsApp, they use Facebook. So maybe that was a very limited version of technology which they understood. So all of a sudden now teachers at home and then we expecting them to deliver was a huge challenge for us. So the basic survey that we started with was to first find out what gadgets do we have at home. It was very important for us to find out whether the child has a broadband or is using Wi-Fi or has a smartphone, how equipped he is to understand. So my school falls in Greater Noida, though it is maybe 35 kilometers away from Delhi, but it's been a huge challenge working in Greater Noida. The belt, as you all know, is a major, not that I want to discriminate, but a community called Gujars, very rich. So we, I think the culture is very different. So the huge challenge that we all faced was how to let them understand that your child at home will be following a schedule. For them, the lockdown was like a holiday. And when we were trying to get in touch, we were told that, they are in their village and unke paas to bas mobile hai and it is very difficult. Humko to padhana bahut mushkil hoga. So yes, what became very important is that what is the easiest tool that we can use. So we thought that we should use Google Classrooms for sending assignments, and we should use Zoom app for the interaction that we want to have because it supports 40 students. But Zoom app would only be possible if internet connection is fine. We did face that problem when we started Zoom. We had children who would say that you're not audible. So we went through that struggle. And then we had this the app, the WhatsApp. So we thought, let's use this. So we started making our own videos. We made our own school YouTube channel. And we thought that, okay, whatever we do, we'll make a video and we'll put it on the YouTube channel and we'll put it on WhatsApp and let children see that audio or video. And then we send them a set of questions on Google Classroom. And they check those questions, or even handwritten questions if teachers are not having a system at home to type. So they can write it on a sheet of paper, click a picture and put it on WhatsApp. Let them answer those questions over there. And then again, they can send us the pictures back. So for us, it's easy to see what they have written. Later on, we realized that teachers were very apprehensive in putting their videos on YouTube because they thought there would be a lot of comparison and they may be ridiculed. So they had an objection to putting videos on YouTube. That's another challenge that we are facing. Teachers are not willing to do that. So we said, okay, then you record your own class don't want a video, put an audio. So we started sending voice messages to our children. And we said, listen to the voice message. There is one term that we are explaining, understand it. And after you have understood it, if you have any question, immediately on WhatsApp, pose your questions. So our phones are heavily packed now. Like it's, with 35 children in a class, the teachers are dealing with 4 sections. So they have good number of messages coming, pictures coming. But that's another problem that we are all facing. So yes, the other problem that we face is we made a very detailed timetable for them, a schedule where we wanted our children to be there on the study table at 8:30. So we realized that the children were not available at that time. The parents had 101 things to say in which they thought, again, the teacher had to play a role. So in this whole setup, we realized that parents are, again, even at home, they are expecting the teachers to deliver. They are not engaging themselves. They should have understood that now the responsibility lies more on them. We have been talking to them, prior, like we started our session very late. We started on 7th. We started our class 12th on the 21st or 22nd of March. But when we started on 7th, we have been counseling our parents since April 1st. But we realized that even after all the talking that we have done, they still put a blame that, madam, ye hamari nahi sunta hai. Aap usko boliye. Now, to have a video calling where the parent is telling us, ma'am, aap usko bataiye, aap isko boliye. So I realized that though it's a known fact that the engagement of parent is very, very less, a lot is expected always from the teacher. So one, that we are not there physically. And then again, the teacher trying to tell the child that, beta, this is an important time. So in these 2 days, let me tell you, I am now worried what would be the class scenario when our children come back. I can see that they're going to be very restless, very, very restless. Their attention span will definitely reduce. That's my other worry, that how will we make them sit in the classroom and, make them concentrate on what we want. Now they have an excuse that ma'am has sent me an assignment, so give me the mobile. The other complaint that we had from parents was that, madam, हमारे पास तो 3 बच्चे हैं, लेकिन आपने क्लासरूम का टाइम 8:30 बजे से रखा है और हमारे पास मोबाइल सिर्फ 1 है, तो हमारे तीनों बच्चे एक मोबाइल से कैसे पढ़ेंगे? Now these are limitations of children who are, I would say, coming from rural background, and parents who are, say, 20%, 30% who work in the corporate world, their mobile is not a problem. System is not a problem. But we have 60% of our children coming from villages. So that was one major worry, that acha mobile bhi nahi hai ab inke paas. So voice message was the only thing that's working with us. So we've got groups made where the teachers are sending voice messages. So you see the struggle that my teachers are now facing. One, there are no maids at home, so they have to take care of the entire family. If there are chota bachas in the family, that becomes an added trouble for the teacher, because she has to manage that also. And then we are pressurizing them that, no, we have to, put a lesson plan in this particular format, so that parents are able to understand it step by step. So first, a lesson plan used to be fortnightly. Now we have made it a daily lesson plan, day-wise plan. The work for the teacher has increased. She has the same time in hand, and the pressure on her is immense. Yesterday, we all went crazy. We were tired. In fact, our fingers were aching because all of us were complaining, ma'am, type kar ke haath thak gaye. So I can see a lot of problems created because of this online education that we are talking about. And I'm not sure whether learning is really happening. So that's going to be another problem when the children come back to school, to assess that whatever energy we spent, was it
Thank you very much, Rajni ma'am. And now the next panelist will come into the picture. So now I request Ms. Prerna to share her experiences.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So I think very genuine concerns, very, I would say practical and very genuine concerns. I think both Mr. Singh and Ms. Rajni have shared. I think I'll share with you some of the learnings that I've had during this time. So I was engaged with multiple challenges again, because one challenge was that so like a B.Ed program, we run a postgraduate diploma program for teachers. It's a 1-year full-time teacher ed program, and it's a more alternate teacher ed program where we do experientially. So the whole learning is experiential. We work with a lot of progressive schools, Ivy schools. So one of the biggest challenge for me was to complete my program online with all my student teachers. The other challenges were that I'm also working with Heritage School and some other schools where all our teachers go to different schools for practice teaching. So every Monday to Thursday is their time to go for practice teaching. And with the lockdown, everything sort of came to a halt, and they all had to get on to virtual teaching. So on one hand, they had to complete their student teaching with us online. And on the second level, they had to do virtual teaching with their mentor teachers online with students. So yeah, so I think that very similar challenges, like all of you have shared, lack of devices, not being trained around it, parents not having enough resources or knowledge, teachers having a lot of problems back home, all of us having a lot of problems back home because of just managing house and work together. So all of these challenges were there, and there were some things that helped. And I'm going to share with you some of the areas where I think there was some headway that we got, and also why we were able to switch on to virtual learning. I would say pretty easily if you compare with any other organization or school. So I'm going to talk about 2-3 things which I think are key in this space to understand. The first thing to understand is that virtual learning or virtual schooling is not same as taking a lesson which you normally regularly take with your children and just sort of packaging it online. I think Mr. Singh also spoke about it. Virtual learning and virtual schooling is different than taking a lesson every day in classroom. So it's not about using technology to deliver a lesson. You have to think about what are the different components of virtual learning, and also the way Ms. Rajni was saying that you cannot spend more than a certain number of hours online with children because of all the constraints that they have, because of the devices, because of having multiple family members having to share devices, because of the bandwidth issue, and because of your own bandwidth and availability. You will get so tired by the end of it that what will you deliver online? So the first thing to understand is that virtual learning and virtual schooling has a completely different mode of operation and modality. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. The second thing to understand is that there is a mindset shift that's required for everybody, teachers, students, parents, leaders, to understand that virtual learning is not added work. The way you understand virtual learning and you go on to teaching online is an exciting world, actually. So if you look at it from a opportunity point of view, like she said, and if you look at it, okay, let me see what I can learn from here, and can I teach differently? Can there be something that I can do without having to create presentations after presentations or worksheets after worksheets? And can I do something which would, one, make my work more easier, and two, it would make it more enjoyable for all of us, for students and for me. So the whole mindset of virtual learning has to be built even before you actually get onto a crisis situation like this. So I would say, and Mr. Singh rightly pointed out, that a lot of things in the B.Ed program, in the teacher education programs have to change. Because if teachers don't experience what it means to collaborate, simple thing, collaborate on a Word document online. If you have never done that, how will you ever get your children to do it? If you have not held meetings with each other online, or just simply explore tools like Kahoot, tools like Padlet, and there are so many tools, and I can give links to Amita and Shilpa, and they can forward you. There are so many interesting tools that you can use while you're teaching, anyways, in classroom, and not when there is a crisis situation. So when technology becomes a part of your teaching, when it becomes a part of you, when it becomes a mode of operation, then it gets easy to switch on to something when you are in a crisis situation. So for our students, I would say, and I'm sharing my example of Heritage School, and I'm a teacher college where we are preparing student teachers. It was very comfortable and easy for them to shift on to virtual learning and schooling, because they were anyways doing a lot of that. Of course, we do everything, a lot of things online. We have in-person classes, but I would say that blend your learning and blend your classes with anyways certain tools and technology, because that's what's going to happen in future. If you are not catching up to it, sooner or later you will have to. So it's better to start exploring those platforms. It's better to start doing it when you are actually not in a crisis situation, so that you get prepared. So that's about prevention, that you work towards a preventive methodology before you actually reach to a crisis situation. I think the other thing to understand is, which is one of the most critical things for me in education at a philosophy level, and not about virtual learning. I think a lot of us still operate from the idea that the teacher has to provide everything to the students. So we also have to understand the notion that there is an element of self-directed learning for children. You are not a knowledge dispenser. You're not a person who has to give everything to children, provide all learning to them. You're co-creating it with them. So the moment you see learning in that, in from that lens, you will also shift certain responsibilities to children, anyways, in your class, and virtually even more. So some of the ways in which we did in our school and colleges were, first we looked at our curriculum and we decided what is something that I can compact, what is something that absolutely needs to be done in these few months, and I cannot, I cannot do away with that. And what are some of the things that I can give students to read or study independently, and give them some tasks which would assess what they have learned by themselves. So I would definitely conduct assessments and understand, have they reached where I want them to reach? But I would divide my work in 2-3 ways. One was, how much time do they need with me face to face, which is absolutely essential and I cannot do without, which is called synchronous in the virtual learning language. So what is the synchronous teaching part? The second is, what is asynchronous, which means that what are some of the tasks that I can design virtually that students go and do and come back and write a reflection, and I'll read it at my own time. So that means that the students can do asynchronous work, which is something where we are not sitting face to face on a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call or whatever. They can do it at their own pace, at their own time. So within a family, if there's one device and 4 people have to work on it, they can divide their time and they can do it. So one of the first agendas for us was to minimize the face-to-face time, because knowing that everybody is going through a crisis situation and not everybody will be able to, be online all the time. And it's also exhausting for everyone to have screen time for so long. Then the question comes, what happens when people are not digitally literate? So what happens in cases where parents or students or teachers do not have enough digital literacy to, for example, understand how to work on Google Classroom or how to go about a Zoom call? So when this situation arises, for us, the biggest thing was to sit together as a leadership team and give everything a pause. Tell all the students, tell all the teachers that we'll be off for a week. Let's take a pause. You first handle your household, take a break, settle down yourselves, or give some readings or some videos till that time, and say that we're figuring out a plan and we need to plan this, we need to structure this, and then we'll come back to you with the protocol. So it's very important to not jump and resist the temptation of just jumping and doing video calls and messaging and all of that, but to plan as a team, that what is it that you want to do. Now, in that planning, the few things that you really want to have is first, like they did Rajni spoke that she did a survey. That's an excellent idea, to do a survey and understand where your learners are, where your parents are, and then knowing that information, then deciding that, okay, we would have to take probably 1 or 2 days just to teach everybody how to operate Google Classroom, just to teach everybody how to come on Zoom calls. What are the norms? What are the protocols that parents need to follow? What are the norms and protocols that children need to follow? How would my workload look like for teachers? What would that mean every day in terms of hours and in terms of expectations? So first, about all the stakeholders, you take certain decisions, you make certain plan, and then from plan, you go to tools and execution. So I also saw in a lot of your, the survey that Amita and Shilpa had sent you to ask questions and what would you really like to know. I saw that a lot of you wanted to know tools and techniques because probably this world is new for you. But I would say that the beginning point is mindset, then planning and structure. And the third one is implementation, tools and strategy.
Sorry to intervene, Prerna, only 1 minute. 1 minute. Huh?
I'm done, Amita.
You're done? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prerna and Ms. Johari, for sharing your experiences. It was indeed insightful. Now we have Ms. Asmita Bhutani and Jyoti Singla on the panel. They're going to discuss the technical aspects related to online programs. I would like to first introduce Asmita Bhutani. Asmita Bhutani is a doctoral fellow at the University of Toronto in the Department of Education. She is pursuing research in online learning and pedagogy, as well as education to work transition of youth across Singapore and Canada. Her work in India spans across the states of New Delhi, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh, with school leadership, pre-service and in-service teachers within the private and public sector. She worked as a program designer, curriculum developer, facilitator with organizations such as the Heritage School, Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, India Education Collective, Roshni, the Teacher App, Presidium, Exceed Education, and NDMC schools. Now I'll introduce Jyoti Singla. Jyoti Singla is an experienced education specialist with a demonstrated history of working in education technology, skilled in teaching of English as a second language, curriculum development and teacher training. She has a strong academic background with an MPhil in education. She has worked with the Teacher App as an academic specialist and is currently working as a curriculum development manager at Leeds School. First, I would like to invite Asmita Bhutani to talk about the technical aspects. Asmita Bhutani.
Hi all. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate all of you, first of all, joining us today in the times of this crisis. And thanks to Amita and Shilpa for organizing this. I want to contribute mainly 3 points to this discussion. They are in some way related to the previous speakers, but also I'll add some stuff of my own. The first is, foremost, is that online learning, as we know, is not for everyone, right? Not because of issues of access, not everyone has access. We have like these two extremes of people wherein we have households wherein only the papaji has the phone or only the mummy has the phone, and they never want to give phones to the children because ye bachcho ke khelne ki cheez nahi hai, But on the other hand, we also know that there is this exhaustion of using screens, and PUBG and Fortnite are like, the national sports. So we have that. And then we also have this population wherein not everyone obviously has a smartphone or phones even. And at times when they have phones, they don't have internet packs, or a lot of times more than phones, you need PCs, laptops for all of these cloud-based sort of technologies that we've been talking about, which, not everybody has. So therefore it is important to consider that fact, and like some of you have already said, that thinking of alternative ways. So I know of people who have been using WhatsApp, which is really, really commonly used to even send scanned worksheets or audio files, like a previous speaker was mentioning, or even creating learning packets going forward, because even if the lockdown ends, we don't know how long this is going to continue. So creating learning packets for children who eventually do not have access to any of these. We don't want to leave them behind. The other thing is also being mindful that not everyone, whether it's the teacher or the student, is comfortable with this virtual mood. It caters to a particular type of learners and workers, and not everybody is comfortable, able. I can say for my own son, who's about 11 years right now, and he has a stuttering problem, and so he doesn't like to be online and be on the spot when it comes to speaking or contributing to a discussion, which he would be okay when he was in a class. So we have to consider all of those things. And then if all of that is covered, and then that's when we come to, okay, so what's available in the market? So there are definitely cloud-based interactive platforms like Google Classroom, Prerna mentioned, and then there is also Brightspace. And there are a whole lot of them that you can actually begin to use in order to facilitate that sort of interactive, giving tasks and receiving information and receiving activities, etc. And there are also video conferencing apps, one Zoom that we're using right now, which definitely has privacy issues too. Like if you, it's in the news currently on how Zoom also, invades privacy of people. So those are concerns that we need to be careful of. And I think, a speaker was also speaking about uploading YouTube videos. So it's a good idea to ensure privacy there, make sure that those are only privately available to some students and not like a public sort of a video which everybody is viewing. There are also skill-based apps, right, which focus on specific literacy or mathematical skills. My daughter is 5 and they're using Seesaw, and I think it works well. There are also many others that are in the market right now, and they're only mushrooming at this point. There are also state-sponsored digital platforms, which CBSE is endorsing. CBSE has its own YouTube portal, its podcasts, though I'll take that with a pinch of salt. But still, the fact that they exist and they are free, and you as a school or as an institution or as a teacher do not really have to spend much to be there. The second point that I want to bring to this discussion is that to understand that this is a temporary phase, it's not the new normal. I would be wary of transferring usual online strategies to this time, because education is a social process, right? Certain skills at this point are more important than probably other skills. Probably using something like media literacy projects at this time to teach them how information is processed, and inserting all of your other skills of communication, of presentation, reading, writing, whatnot to get into that project. Even simple things like what's available at home. There is a television and there is news channels going on all the time talking about COVID, but you can compare how one news channel does it in comparison to others, and then creating a lot of learning out of that. Also, I think it's important to pay attention at this point to the mental and emotional health of students. So a lot of learning that we design needs to be focused around, how are they processing this whole crisis, and also post-crisis, like somebody said that they're going to come back restless. So how are we prepared for it? Do we already have something in place, or are we going to be surprised with that restlessness and yet again kind of begin figuring out that, okay, now what do we do? So maybe when we preempt that, we can plan for it. And the third thing that I want to bring up is that we need to be, again, mindful that education is a slow process and knowledge does not accumulate rapidly, right? So making up to compensate for the lost time in school, if we begin sending worksheets upon worksheets, we have to remember we live in a patriarchal world where probably it's the mother who's doing the cooking, who's doing the cleaning, who's also child rearing, who's also taking care of all of this homework. And so for her to, suddenly begin to see this volume of sheets coming in, how in Punjabi we say that ek aur syapa, and you don't want to add to that syapa. You want to be supportive and you want to demonstrate allyship at this point. And I'm talking about the crisis in particular. You want to demonstrate allyship at this point with the parents also. So this is probably the time, I would say, for what is called project-based learning, in which you design projects, which are weekly or bi-weekly, wherein you give a task and you try and not bifurcate so much into different subjects, but look at how skills within different subjects can be clubbed into that whole project, like the media literacy thing I mentioned just a few minutes earlier, and then see how you want to develop different evaluation tools so that eventually all your marks grading for different subjects can also be entered, but with the same project with the child is doing at home. And this is also the time for what I would call apprenticeship learning, wherein children are already doing stuff at home, and if they are not, then those tasks can be given. They see adults right now performing tasks of cooking or cleaning or I don't know, gardening or whatnot. They would be doing all of those things. And so at that point, for the child to assist things that are already happening at home, and what is it that we can we find ways to assess all of that learning and bringing into the mainstream curriculum, which otherwise counts as invisible learning, right? Like we don't assess any of it otherwise. So I think match the current situation to your curriculum rather than adapting your curriculum so much that it eventually leads, like somebody said, tired fingers and exhaustion of teachers, because this is all going to show, right? Teachers also belong to those very families and they have to do a lot of other work. This is not their main work. So all the time at this point in time. So so I would say that maneuvering around all of these three very basic things on how children learn, I think that's important. I think Prerna also raised that. That is important to be kept at the base before and alongside designing stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Asmita. Now, I would like to request Jyoti to talk about her experiences. Jyoti Singla.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Jyoti.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I hope you're safe and sound. Today, I'll be taking you through how we can leverage technology to ensure teaching learning process in this time of adversity. So I will be covering some points that were given by the previous speaker and adding some of my own. So, however, I would like to begin this discussion by telling you that no amount of technology can replace the actual teaching learning process in a classroom. Like the students need to collaborate with each other to learn. They also have to engage in dialogues and discussion with the teacher to understand complex ideas. However, because of the current lockdown, it will be interesting to know how we can use a digital platform to continue teaching. So we're going to talk about how we can use gadgets like mobile phone or a laptop or a computer to reach out to our learners. To do that, the best way is to identify what all we can teach through a digital mode or which topic or ideas can be taught right now. So this can be done by thinking about a few points. For example, which topic needs less or actually no peer learning or can be learned individually. So for example, if I take instances of pre-primary, then counting concrete objects or items can be done individually. So if a teacher makes a video or a demonstration video where she's actually saying the number with appropriate pauses, the students can do that individually. Or phonics. And even if we talk about English in middle school, some grammar exercises can be easily done individually. Then reading of text in science and social science can also be done individually right now, and we can process them in the classroom once the lockdown is over. Also, since we know that the session was about to begin before the lockdown, we can actually ask the students to revise the topics that were spiral from the previous year. So as we know in our curriculum, there are some topics that we take from the previous year and we try to build on that. So those topics can be revised right now and this time can be utilized for that. It is also essential to not to choose an entirely new topic for the students. So if the students already know adjectives, then we can ask them to look at adverbs, but we won't ask them to look at direct or indirect speech. So something like that. Then we can have certain videos. For example, if I want to teach social science or a new science chapter, then in order to activate their schema or their previous knowledge, I generally conduct activities in the classroom. So that can be done through videos. So we show them certain videos through YouTube and other websites, and that pre-reading activity is done through that. And then I can move to the text, which the students can read individually. So these are certain topics or activities that I can actually do right now. Now we can either get the content or make the content. So first I'll talk about how we can get the digital content. So there are websites like study.com, or there are certain YouTube channels or Khan Academy or brightstorm.com that we can directly use for giving links to our students for a specific topic. Now take this with a pinch of salt. So we can actually give this to older students who are responsible enough. We can provide these links and send them questions on WhatsApp groups. So this through this we can actually make them revise the previous topics that they have done and not a new topic. Also, we can ask students to share their voice notes on a WhatsApp group to facilitate discussion in order to give some engagement of peer discussion. Now, while doing that, the students might only be sharing their own things rather than just listening to others. So we can ask them to first listen to others and then taking the discussion forward from that particular voice message. Now, this can be done on an interval of 1 or 2 days so that all the students are able to participate at their own pace. And then the teacher can actually conclude this discussion by taking everybody's viewpoint. Now we can actually mm, create certain content using our phones and laptops. So as Asmita also said, so virtual learning and teaching is not for everybody. There are certain basic skills that are required to create content. So I'll be talking about the basic things that the teacher might know or she can know through certain courses. So there are certain courses on Coursera or edX that are available where the teacher can actually learn certain PPT skills or Word document skills so that she can design worksheets online and send it to students. So PPT can be used as a tool to explain certain concepts. You can use animation, you can actually use voiceover and create your own video. So a simple PPT slides for like 4 or 5 slides and your own voice over, you can make a video, and you don't need to show yourself. You can actually use characters or images from websites that I'm going to tell you about. You can use contextual images from there and create your own video. Also, there is a thing that you can keep in mind when you're preparing a PPT. It's important to break the complex concept into smaller chunks. So if I share an example, if you want to teach certain things about adjectives, then you will actually break this into chunks. So you can have 2 or 3 slides just explaining adjectives part by part and giving examples, so numerous examples, so the students are able to visualize it. Then you tell them in advance what you are going to talk about. So if you're going to talk about like 3 types of adjectives or 4 types of adjectives, give that learning to them already and then show each type with numerous examples. Now, if you don't want to show yourself in the video, you can use images from websites like Pixabay, Shutterstock, or Freepik. So you'll get contextual images and images of people or animal with different activities. So you can actually make the learning meaningful and enjoyable by including these pictures. Next, another tool is OBS Studio. So if your teachers have laptops, they can actually create their own videos like you have seen on Khan Academy. So using this app, OBS Studio, the teacher will be able to actually switch between her own video and the screen of the laptop. So she can actually show a Word document or a PPT on the laptop, and then she can actually show her video simultaneously. So the students can learn out of this video anytime and anywhere at their own pace. Then the teacher can send worksheets made on Word document. And so another difficulty that the teachers face is checking these answers. So what we can do to the older students, we can actually give them checklists to check their own work. So these checklists can be sent on WhatsApp or through email. And we have to make sure that these checklists are comprehensive enough, that it's covering the editing part, the enhancing part, or the major ideas, so the students can actually check their own answers.
Thank you, Jyoti. We're exceeding time. So thanks a lot, Asmita and Jyoti, for simplifying the technical aspect of online learning for all of us. Now we have with us Ms. Shilpa Sachdeva and Ms. Smriti Soni to talk about the real-time challenges and the practical solutions from teachers' perspectives. So Shilpa is a life skill educator and a storyteller. She works with children in different forms of creative arts and learning methods. She is working as a teacher educator with DAV schools and also teaches at their Noida branch. She's also working with a company, Impressive Tales, which imparts life skill training to teacher and students. The next panelist, Ms. Smriti Soni. She works as an educator with the Heritage School, Vasant Kunj. She has also worked with senior program students for teaching spoken English with British Council. She is a certified professional for using theatre as a pedagogical tool in classroom. She has been associated with NCERT for 7 years and has worked on various projects related to transcriptions, translations, creating metadata and e-content. Handing over to you, Shilpa Sachdeva.
Hello everybody, this is Shilpa Sachdeva. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, Shilpa.
Okay. So this online teaching thing which has come up, I was always very excited to do this online thing, and I was always very technology savvy. So it was really an opportunity for me to come up with new things. DAV, the organization with which I work, that has again teachers who are from they have senior teachers who again we face a problem, they are not ready to learn new things. टेक्नोलॉजी तो ओके टाइप्स है, मतलब हमें क्लासरूम टीचिंग करनी है और ये कंप्यूटर हमने नहीं करना. The biggest challenge which we faced was the strength of the students in the class. अब ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में ये है कि if we are teaching 45 students in the class, only 20 of them इनके पेरेंट्स ऐसे होंगे जिनको फोन भी यूज करना आता होगा, या ऑनलाइन तो आप भूल ही जाओगे, आप ज़ूम बूम ऐप डाउनलोड करेंगे. So it was a challenge for us, and the school came up with this, they gave this responsibility to me, like primary thing, the entire thing was handed over to me कि अब आप online teaching curriculum पूरा design करो. So it was an opportunity for me where I could use WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Zoom, every thing which I could find out. I took a break for 3 days and I actually searched कि कौन सा medium best रहेगा teachers के लिए, क्योंकि पहले मुझे teachers को सिखाना था और वो class में students को करवाएंगे वो चीज. So and since I deal with young children, so I find personal live sessions to be more fruitful for children, क्योंकि बच्चे PPT receive कर रहे हैं, worksheet receive कर रहे हैं, but जब तक उनमें मैम नहीं दिखती, मैम की वो स्माइल नहीं दिखती, मैम का वो कनेक्ट नहीं दिखता, वो नहीं करते काम. That is a practical thing which we have. So for that I created an Instagram group and I joined with this company Impressive Tales, and we do storytelling sessions with children every day, wherein the entire students, primary students from DAV, and also it is open for all, we do storytelling sessions with children every day. Otherwise also there are other online media apps available in the market who are actually paid, but this time they are offering free services, so our children make use of them to educate the children. So the funder for me is that मैं अपने sessions को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा interactive बनाने की कोशिश करती हूँ, and I know it's tedious for me कि videos record करना या बच्चों के साथ live होना, but this is what works for them. बच्चों के साथ, छोटे बच्चों के साथ, this is the only thing which works for them. Yes, I send PPTs, yes, I do send a lot of worksheets, but again authenticity is a problem कि वो बच्चा कर रहा है या parent कर रहा है, क्योंकि उन्हें होता है कि beautiful काम मैम को जाए. अब now I don't know whether the child has done it or the parent has done it. So बच्चों के साथ जब आप लाइव बात करते हो तो पता लगता है कि yes, बच्चे को वो आ रहा है, समझ में आ रहा है, छोटी से छोटी चीज, सेंस ऑर्गन्स कर पा रहा है, नहीं कर पा रहा. So for me live works the best, And even if I'm not talking to them, after every session I have an activity planned for them, a creative activity planned for them. They're very curious to do the activity, they're very curious to do the rhyme, and that's how I do my online teaching. The way we did it in school is was that we made certain groups, एज इन कि पहले मैंने अपना होमवर्क किया 3 दिन के लिए, अपने आप को आइसोलेट कर लिया कि हम कैसे प्लान आउट करेंगे. देन वी मेड स्मॉलर ग्रुप ऑफ टीचर्स वेर इन एंड डेलीगेटेड वर्क की उन टीचर्स में से जो सबसे ज्यादा टेक्नोलॉजिकली savvy है टीचर्स, उसको काम डेडिकेट करो. दैट यू हैव टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ टीचर लर्निंग हैपनिंग वाज देयर. बहुत ज्यादा जो नहीं सीखना चाहती थी अब उन्हें सीखना था. So that was the responsibility of this tutor teacher to mentor the other teachers कि आप अपने बच्चों के साथ कैसे करेंगे. So mostly it is happening through WhatsApp only, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स आजकल मोस्टली WhatsApp नॉलेज बहुत ज्यादा हो गई है. ज्ञान हमें WhatsApp से सबसे ज्यादा मिलता है. So that ज्ञान we actually vouched on it and we used it in our own teaching in school. And again that personal connect with children have to be there. So when I'm doing live sessions or when I'm doing Zoom sessions with children, I always try and take names of my children so that they are in connection with me, and when I will go to school they know me and I know them by their names. So this is happening. And so the challenges which I face while teaching online are, again, not all parents are technologically savvy. So it's a struggle for me to explain it to parents कि अब आप यहाँ जाओ, यहाँ क्लिक करो, अगर मैं लाइव कर रही हूँ तो यहाँ पे लोगो फ्लैश होगा, फिर आपको लाइव जाना है, आप ये वाला ऐप इस तरीके से इंस्टॉल करो. एंड सो आई एम डूइंग दैट बिकॉज बहुत जरूरी है इस टाइम पे. अगेन अस्मिता ने बहुत अच्छी बात करी कि मदर के ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ जाती है, घर का काम भी करना है एंड बच्चे को भी पढ़ाना है. तो यस, एक और से आपका इज actually the right word. So but I am in connect with the mothers, with the parents कि आप करिए because it's important for the child. और वो टॉपिक्स इंट्रोड्यूस करना ताकि हम प्रीवियस नॉलेज को कनेक्ट कर सके. और जो नए टॉपिक्स हैं, हैवी टॉपिक्स हैं, उनको हम क्लासरूम में बाद में कर लेंगे. थोड़ा सा करिकुलम में अपना एकेडमिक प्लानर में शिफ्ट लेके आ रहे हैं, इज नॉट अ बिग डील फॉर अस. तो वो टॉपिक्स हम बाद में कर लेंगे. जो थोड़े आसान टॉपिक्स हैं जो पेरेंट्स करवा सकते हैं घर में, I would say that वो टॉपिक्स अभी करना is best. My body, ये सब जो आसान टॉपिक्स हैं which are there for junior classes, I try to do them at this point. And then difficult topics which अब जैसे मात्राएं हैं, बच्चे पेरेंट्स अच्छे से मात्राएं नहीं सिखा पाएंगे बच्चों को, वो अभी भी छोटी ई बड़ी ई वो कॉन्सेप्ट पे अड़े हुए हैं. सो आई प्रेफर कि पेरेंट्स को बोलूं आप मात्राएं मत शुरू करिए, वो हम करवा देंगे जब स्कूल खुलेंगे. आप थोड़ा आसान काम जो आपको लगता है आप करा सकते हैं, design a curriculum for them. Then so another
Shilpa,
thing which happens
Shilpa,
is
you
yeah.
will have to stop here. Okay, the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we are running out of time.
Yeah, sure.
I will now request Smridhi to talk about her experiences. Over to Smridhi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
So the first thing that I would like to share with everyone is what worked with us is that we knew that the school would not open, and we would eventually have to use an online mode of teaching. So what we did was we asked everyone to look for various platforms of online teaching, and then we rolled them out amongst ourselves. Right now we are working on Google Classroom, but before rolling this out to the parents, to the children, we enrolled ourselves as students into that classroom, and we assigned assignments and tasks and everything to see how things really work. So we worked like that for a couple of days to see the challenges that we face or what problems are there, technical issues, connectivity issues. For example, with Hangouts, there's a problem that you need a very strong internet connection. So we switched to Zoom. But with Zoom, it has its own privacy problems as well. So going back to another platform where we can actually have this kind of a FaceTime with children. So all those problems are there. Apart from that, the challenges that we faced were, again, connectivity issue and seriousness also. I remember one of the students, when he came in my class for the first time, he said that, ma'am, this is not a class. I'm sitting in my home. So we have those problems as well. We also have parents who are not serious about these things. Also, at this point in time, we know that parents are also working from home. They have their home tasks as well, and they have office work as well. So if I expect the child and the parent to do a certain task at 9 o'clock in the morning, I mean, that's really unrealistic of me. So we did face this problem, and so we decided that they can submit the work at their own pace. We would give them a couple of days to complete a particular task, after which they can submit the work. And another concern that we faced was interaction. So I have 36 students in my class. Even at this point, everyone is mute, so you can hear me very clearly. However, if everyone is not on mute, or if you want to have any kind of interaction, it's really a very tricky place how to have that in a class with 36 children. Who would speak when? How would you speak? So we did work on various norms, like you would show a palm if you want to say something, or you would try to converse with actions so that less speaking is happening. So all of that we tried. But yes, interacting in a class is really difficult. Another challenge is that not everyone is very comfortable with this kind of online teaching, or even recording their own videos and uploading that. So keeping a balance amongst all of these things. Also, there are a lot of resources available online on YouTube and other platforms as well. So for concepts, we have a lot of resources. Try to upload those resources. For concepts for which there are no resources available online, only then we move to this kind of class wherein they have the space time and children come and they interact with us. Also, again, being tech savvy is another challenge. Not everyone is very comfortable with using all kinds of technology. Technology has its own, barriers as well. So that problem is also there. So taking some time and rolling it out amongst ourselves first before giving it out to the children, that is what really helped us. Also, I feel that at this point, the pressure on the teacher is so high that you have to teach, you have to give a task to the child. So I also feel that as a community, if that pressure, if we don't build that kind of pressure on the teacher, I mean, it could be really helpful. Of course, everything cannot happen in an online way. You need to give that kind of time also to the teacher. Like my fellow speaker also said, that they took a week off to figure things out amongst themselves first. So that really helps. Also, when we talk about this online learning, we tried to look for tasks which are meaningful for them, which would engage them, and which would also build a connection with us also, because it was a new batch. Our batch started on 18th March itself, and we've been taking online classes since then. So how to understand our learners first, build a connect with them, and then move to them at a level where they would work together amongst themselves also, and then with us as well. So we try to give a lot of research work as well. We try to encourage crew work also. For example, if you need to give some kind of a reading, so divide your class into different groups of 3 to 5 children and break that reading into certain portions. Give each portion to each group, and then you ask them to share their ideas and take the learning forward. So those kind of crew work you can give. Also, at this point, children also want to talk amongst themselves, right? So if you give these kind of crew work where they have to work in a group, they have to interact with themselves first and then submit the work, that would encourage a lot of bonding amongst the children as well. And it would also lead to meaningful experiences also. So that's all I have to share with everyone.
Thank you very much, Smriti. I thank all the panelists for their insightful contribution to the discussion. What we have learned, I think, from this session is basically how I'm looking at it is we have major 3 stakeholders right now. So we have teachers, we have parents, and we have the students, right? So at macro level, wherein we are talking about the fact that it's like a sudden onset and the teachers are not trained. So there is a gap in the teacher training programs, right? We are not equipped enough. The teachers are not equipped enough to deal with online things. So this is a kind of a implication for the further programs. So something for the future, right? Another thing which is about the parents right now is that about the mindset, and I think it is very rightly said by the panelists across, is that at this point of time it is very necessary to have a kind of a relationship with parents, because through parents we have to go to children, right? So I think parents are the key part right now. So it's a question to think for all of us, that how much time are we investing on empowering our parents right now? And though for teachers, yes, there are different platforms available. Like we have, as Rajni ma'am suggested, that technology wise, we have Zoom, we have WhatsApp, we have YouTube channel, Google Classroom, and things like that. But and the suggestion which you offered was really nice, that audio files, it's working with children who don't have much access to things. But at the same point of time, what Smridhi said, is, I think it's in my mind right now, where she said that teachers found the right platform for children themselves. They explode. So rather than giving things to teachers that use this platform and then implement things in classroom, they can make a part of the process wherein they're participating in the process of finding out the right kind of a platform for children. They learn themselves, definitely. About online learning, yes, Asmita, I really agree to you all the 3 points, and one of them majorly, that's using this opportunity to teach kids through project-based learning. And I think this is a important situation right now, and simultaneously focusing on the emotional and the mental well-being of students. Prerna, you talked about virtual learning and how it is very different from schooling. I think as teachers and as practitioners, or maybe the school heads, we need to realize this fact that they both are not same, and we need to figure out the essential components, how we can use the technology to implement or to reach out to students. So it's a very thoughtful kind of a process. Another thing which came up in the discussion was exploring the concept of self-directed learning. Yes, from the curriculum perspective, it can be done, that the areas can be figured it out. Those areas which children can do themselves, which need support later on, and teachers can go accordingly. So I think this discussion was very insightful, and now we can move ahead.
Yeah, we can now start the question and answer round. So now participants can raise their hands and they can ask questions. I request Harkaval to unmute the participant who's asking question. And you can direct your question to a particular panelist, or I can do it for you. And please feel free to ask your question in English, Hindi, or Punjabi.
Hello, this is Balvinder.
Hello, Balvinder.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to know about this, whether I was, exploring the other sites, and I just came across the one particular term that was like online predators about the kids, because this is a very much concern. We are telling them to use this tools, this site, and nowadays Zoom bombing has been rounding up. This word is rounding up. Like this Zoom app is no more safe to use, And how come this online predators, how come we'll get to know about this platform is more safe and authenticated to direct the children to use it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Smridhi, you can take up this question.
Because
ma'am.
most of learned parents, they are coming up with this kind of questioning when we call up them and we ask them, okay, we'll start with split up rooms with a Zoom, and we can make the groups. We can, like right now crew learning was crew group, they are told about this thing. How come we can make our parents to be very much reliable on our techniques? There, a lot of negative vibes are also coming up with this kind of things.
So you're absolutely right, ma'am. At this point, with the lockdown, when some people don't have much work to do, we do have a lot of hackers also and other people with not good intentions who are there, sitting just there and doing some things. So Zoom bombing is one of the things where we have the Zoom class, we send the Zoom invite to parents, the children join the class. Somehow these hackers hack the meeting ID and they enter your Zoom class. There were incidents where some of these hackers, they were wearing a mask and they entered, and the children went really crazy and they were very scared. At times there were cases where they also showed in objectionable content as well, like
Yes,
pornography.
we were
So
more concerned.
Zoom has recently made an update. They also have this password, but again, it is not that safe. So what we have done as a school is that we have shifted to Hangouts, which is much more safer right now. So across the world, yes, there are cases where we are hearing so and so app is not safe, this platform is not safe. So right now, Google is quite safe. So we are trying to communicate everything on Google itself. But with Hangouts, yes, there is a connectivity problem. If you don't have a very strong internet connection, it would not work very well.
That was my problem. Actually, we went to the Microsoft team, then to the Google, and after that we again came up to the Zoom, because my concern is my school setup is in the rural area and we are facing the same problem. The first our speaker, ma'am, I just Noida wale jo ma'am hai, she would, yeah, Zohri ma'am, I was relating to her, like the way she was telling the things, the same things are happening with me also. So and one more thing, one question was like that, it's like how come this homeschooling will affect regular schooling? It is going to make some adverse effect, because some of chats are going on in some of my other groups, like most of parents were talking about, okay, let's start homeschooling, these schools are going to be, I mean, they are, some of the parents, they're getting more and more confident, like some of the content is delivered in a best way through this. Like I had started with flipped classrooms. I had done my pilot project with the flipped classroom like 2 years back, and I got a very good response with this thing. Though the app was Zoom only at that time. I just want to know about that thing also.
Okay, Prerna, would you like to take up this question, Prerna or Asmita?
Can you unmute me?
We are listening you. You are unmuted.
All right. So so before I answer that question, your second question, Balvinder, for the first one for Zoom also, just one more idea. Try opening your Zoom link in an incognito window. It would sometimes prevent hackers to locate you easily. So whenever we open our browser, so there's a file option over there, and you go and you say that open this is incognito mode. If you can do that, it will be difficult for any hackers to locate you or to find you. So they might still, but it would become difficult. So the other question about homeschooling and parent anxiety that you're saying is very, very normal. I think the key in that is to first understand that it's a natural anxiety they're reacting right now. So it's a phase and they're reacting. If they had to do all the tasks of a teacher that we do in the school, they'll do it for a few days. But then after that, they'll say, okay, we don't want to homeschool anymore. So
My
this is,
teachers were more concerned about this thing. So I just have the same idea, but thank you, ma'am.
But the other thing in this is to just make, like, you know, we were, like Shilpa was summarizing, that the relationship with the parent and the child is very important right now. So first of all, for them to also understand that we are collaborating for this right now. We're together in this. So if you have clear guidelines, clear expectations
Vision,
and ideas with shared with parents that, you know, you do this, we will do this. So they will see this as a continuum and they'll see that we are together in this. I think the problem happens when they don't know what their role is. So the more we can make it clear, the better it will be.
Thank you.
Jagdeep sir wants to say something. Harkaval, can you please unmute Jagdeep sir? Sir, you are.
Now it's okay?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So I want to add one thing, that for security reasons, there is one option of waiting room in Zoom. You can allow only persons who are your students. Otherwise, there is one option of waiting room is there. So in this way, then you can stop the unwanted persons to enter your class.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Prerna. Thank you, sir.
Okay, can I add a comment?
Yeah, Smita, you can add.
Okay, so I just wanted to say again, addressing the privacy bit. So there are certain apps which allow you to protect your VPNs, and I can share those links of those apps. The moment you protect your VPN as a school or as a teacher or as a student, any of your data that you are sharing is encrypted between you and the participant, and it cannot be shared by any third party site and cannot be hacked. So I can share those links. It's very helpful. It's a paid service usually, but I think as schools we can invest in it. It's useful. And the other thing about the parents, you know, homeschooling and everything. It's not that homeschooling is rare. All across the world, parents at times do homeschool. Yeah. But trust me, eventually, all of the experience that as teachers you have and everything that we've invested in the education system all this far, it can never replace schooling, simply because, like I said, education is a social process. Everybody has to come together for this. So yeah, it can never be replaced.
Actually, I was not taking the discussion to that side. Like I was feeling like, you know, this is I'm sure about this is an anxiety period, but we have to take a paradigm shift, like we were talking about from the start of this discussion. So paradigm shift could be like this: after this scenario, after this lockdown, things will not gonna be the same like we were used to have. Now it's going to be have a blended learning. A lot of homeschooling would be there, and a lot of traditional would be. You had to be make our policies or our visions, our paradigms accordingly to that thing. So I was just asked more curious to know about this thing. Thank you.
So,
any other question?
Yeah.
You can also write your question in the chat box.
Shilpa ji, ask anyone if anyone wants to share.
Yeah, if anybody wants to share or have any query, you can ask. This is the right platform right now.
Yeah.
Any kind of issue you are facing in classroom with students, with teachers, please do share.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you want me to start my video? Just give me a minute, yeah. Right. So, hi, I am teaching in Delhi University, and it's just a concern that I want to share, particularly with Rajni ma'am and Sir here, because they're also performing the role of administrators. It's just a concern which a lot of teachers in the university have now, because with see, the university was not prepared for Delhi University was not prepared for this kind of bombing of online teaching that has been put on us, and we are trying to make things work as best as possible, but it is difficult. And one concern which has come up in the university is that there is a lot of surveillance of classes which is happening. So as administrators, there is a requirement to monitor whether teachers are taking classes, whether there is actually learning happening. And at the same time, teachers have this anxiety that I'm constantly under check. You know, people are checking whether I'm actually taking a class. Did I take a class for 1 hour? Did I take a class for half an hour? And particularly where there are contractual teachers, where they are paid on an hourly basis, guest teaching in the university. This is a major concern. So I just wanted to share this. And if you have any comments as administrators about how monitoring is happening at online level, and as teachers, we often don't, we want the classroom to be a free space, but that free space is vanishing as this surveillance and monitoring is happening. And another concern that my students are sharing is that with the increasing online teaching, they are being bombarded with things to read. Every teacher sends them so much to read that they're not able to cope with all the assignments and all the tasks which they're expected to do. So given the low connectivity issues, some of them have gone back to their villages and then they don't have connections, internet connections there. So they log in once a day. And then when they see the amount of work which is given to them by the various teachers who are proving to the administrators that we are doing our work, so that amount of work is too much. So just that I wanted to share.
Thank you for raising this.
Shilpa, can I say something?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. So talking about the teachers being monitored in the class, yes, initially when we installed cameras, there was a huge hue and cry. They didn't want it. They didn't want it. But we said it's a decision made by the management and we go by it. So what we did is every Saturday we invite our teachers to look at their own recordings. Instead of we telling them that, you know, you are bad at this particular point or you're doing this wrong, we always tell our teachers, we are not going to assess. You see your own video and give us the things that you would like to stop doing after you've seen the video, something that you would want to start doing, and something that you would want to continue doing. So initial 15-20 days, we made our teachers in their free periods go and watch their own videos. And amazingly, I would like to add is that the teachers brought in a lot of improvement in their own activity. And I think the rest is all, you know, we are all human beings. We all can make mistakes, but a mistake which is done on intent is visible. And a mistake with this happens accidental. I think we are all humans, we understand that. So it's how you deal with this monitoring that matters.
Jagdeep sir?
Sir, the question was about that the teaching in the classroom, or it was regarding the online teaching? That they want to observe in the classroom or they want to observe while they are teaching on the online?
One of the question was cameras in the classroom where they are being monitored.
Both. I think in the present
It's
situation.
both ways. It's both ways.
Yeah, it is both. It's also about proving that we've been there. We've taken a full 1 hour class because some of the teachers are paid on an hourly basis. So it's for the online teaching right now. Delhi University as of now does not have cameras in the classroom. I'm only referring to online teaching right now.
Okay. If you are university, then you can purchase that one package of Zoom. There is a provision of creating different rooms. If as an administrator you can create different rooms where your all teachers, you can observe that they are teaching properly or not, or even you can record all the lectures. So whenever you want to check those, then it's very simple. For that, you have to purchase a package, full package of Zoom or any other such platform. Then it will be easy for you to observe. And even if there is any problem for some students that the net connectivity is not good, then they can record their lectures and again then they can play those lectures. So it is very simple activity.
Sir, recording is simple, I understand that, but the issue is more of trust. So there is no longer this trust that the teacher is doing her job properly.
Ma'am, there is no space of such things in this 21st century, because at that time when we started the cameras, that it was this discussion that teachers should be trusted. So again, it's a trust. If we are honest, we are hard workers, then what we problem we have that if we are being observed.
Okay, thank you.
Prerna wants to add something.
Yeah, can I just add to that a little bit? So, who asked the question?
Tulika asked this question.
Prerna, are you teaching at the university?
She teaches at Delhi University, Prerna.
Okay. So, Tulika, one of the things that I have found really, really inspirational and really helpful in my journey as an educator and a teacher educator has been to observe others and to be observed. So I think it has to become a norm in our education space, whether it is school, whether it is university. It has to be done very mindfully. It has to be done in a way that it's not threatening. So the idea behind observations, whether it's a professor or a lecturer or the head of a school or a teacher, should not be to evaluate that teacher or say whether you are a good teacher or you're a bad teacher or you're A or A plus or B or whatever. The idea of observing is to better your teaching practice every day. So you engage with observations of peers. You engage with observing each other. You have your supervisors, you have your peers, you go observe and you give feedback. So the role of observation and feedback is, I can't tell you enough about it. There has been a lot of research around it. We have been practicing it for years. Samriddhi would agree with me. She's at Heritage School. So we do it so much and I have found it so enriching. I teach courses at the PGDLT level. I am the academic head, but I want my peers to come and observe me, my colleagues to come and observe me and give me a feedback. When you make it a culture in any educational space, it's empowering. But when you do it from a scrutiny point of view, of course, it's de-empowering. So I think it all depends upon how you build it as a culture in your organization, but it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, very true, Prerna. Thank you.
Amita, with your permission, can I take half a minute more? I'm sorry, I know I'm sort of impinging onto everybody's time. And I agree exactly with what you're saying. It's about a culture of learning. But the presumption is that the culture of learning exists at all places. So when this online thing has come onto us suddenly, I'm not sure that every organization is looking at it in terms of learning from each other. And surveillance is very different from observational learning and taking feedback.
Yeah,
so just this bit. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to
and
waste
Tulika,
time more.
I understand that everybody is trying to figure out solutions because nobody has the right solution. It has never happened to all of us. So everybody is feeling a little insecure that, okay, how do we ensure that all of them are not doing Facebook online but actually teaching? So I think everyone is struggling with this, and it's a phase and it's a conflict and a phase. But we could have great discussions. I think you should initiate a discussion in your college that how can we make the most of this opportunity? How can we have a process where you know how much I'm teaching and how much I'm working, but at the same time it's empowering and not demotivating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tulika and Prerna. We are running out of time. We can take up just one more question, although we are already out of time, but still we can take one more question. Okay. So I think I can request Shilpa to conclude the session. But before that, I would like to say one or two things.
Amita, Amita, participant Lily Srivastava.
Okay. Lily, you can ask your question. Harkaval, can you unmute Lily?
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. Actually, it is not a concern for me. It was more sort of my sharing in the way that like I am taking up grade 9 and 10. So we have a different type of struggle. Like Tulika ma'am has also shared. There are three concerns which we as a teacher are facing. Number one, parents are scrutinizing us. If it is a teacher, if it is a fellow educator who is observing me, that is something different. Parents, now grade 9 and 10, we have some sort of parent who are sitting there around with their student, around with their children, and they are scrutinizing us. And then they are pointing out at the back. That is first thing. तो वो हमारा एक थोड़ा सा it becomes a slightly difficult. An observer and an educator who knows the process of teaching learning, they understand. Parent तो पता नहीं क्या समझता है, क्या ही नहीं समझता है, and they start giving a verdict on our teaching method. Number two, this is an age group where students are very advanced. अगर हम वीडियो ऑफ रखते हैं, then I don't feel the connect. अगर हम वीडियो ऑन रखते हैं, then all the time there is a fear in my mind कि मेरा भी मेम बन जाएगा और इंस्टा पे चला जाएगा. That is something which we are. And third thing, अगर हम participant को बोलते हैं अपना वीडियो ऑफ रखो, तो I am not sure that participant is actually listening or not listening, simply logged in and have gone, and then the parent will come and complain. ऐसा complain मेरे पास इतनी last we have started this online classes since last week, so today was sixth day of taking the class, और अब तक हमारे पास ऑलरेडी ऐसी कंप्लेंट्स आ चुकी हैं कि मैम आप इस पर्टिकुलर बच्चे से क्वेश्चन पूछो, ये पर्टिकुलर बच्चे से इसने सुना नहीं था, इसने लॉग इन किया था और ये चला गया था. नाउ इफ आई एम आस्किंग देम टू पुट ऑन द वीडियो, अगेन बैकग्राउंड प्रॉब्लम है. अगर पुट ऑफ करते हैं वीडियो, सेम प्रॉब्लम आ रही है. एंड जूम की जो है वो तो हम लोग मोर और लेस आफ्टर एवरी सेशन वी आर डूइंग सम सॉर्ट ऑफ लाइक ट्रायल एंड एरर हिट मेथड से हम अपने ऑप्शंस ढूंढ ही ले रहे हैं कि हाउ कैन वी मेक इट मोर फ्री. स्टिल प्रॉब्लम्स आ ही रही हैं वहां पर. तो ये दो बहुत मेजर कंसर्न था, क्योंकि हम उस एज ग्रुप से डील कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे बच्चे हमसे ज्यादा एडवांस है. grade 9-10 is more advanced technologically, they are more advanced than me if I take up me. And the third problem जो है वो ये है कि everybody is working from home. So if I take up the scenario from my home, I have one laptop and 3 people who have to work on it, and everybody has to work it in the morning time. My son, he is taking online coaching, उसका 12th का IIT का entrance का coaching चल रहा है, morning का time है. I have to take 5 classes, 6 classes in the morning, and then we have to find out way. मैं अगर मोबाइल से if I am taking classes, then it is slightly delimiting. मेरे पास सारे options available नहीं होते हैं. If he is taking his classes from mobile, then the screen is very small. So it's difficult. Like we all are trying to cope it, but it's difficult. That was just a sharing. There was not any question as such. It was a sharing which I am facing both as a parent, as a teacher. Apart from all other things, as a parent, as a teacher, I'm facing all these issues.
Shilpa ji, may I answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
Actually, 2-3 problems which I have listened. One was of the same kind, that if someone from the outside will enter or someone will do any wrong thing. When we are going to school and our kids are also going to school, so many things happens. Kidnapping is there, so many malpractices are there. Similarly, when we are teaching in the classroom, then sometimes the students, they record the things with the mobile, having in their bag in this way. So all these things happens even if you are teaching in the classroom. So there is nothing new. So we cannot make any such excuses. This is the time where we will find the good solutions, because all of us, near about 100 people we are here. So we are on the same platform. Even anyone is from Delhi, anyone is from the rural area, all have same type of platform at present. All are using Zoom, all are using the YouTube channels, all are making the videos, same things which we have. But this is the right time, as I said earlier. So it's a challenge. It's not a lockdown. It's a opening of new areas. So when we will run classes 1 month at least, then after 1 month, then again we will do one session like this, and then I think we will find a number of solutions of everything which we are feeling problem now, because Zoom is also working on it and other agencies are also working on it. Let the things happen and find the solutions. Don't consider these as problems. So you have the recording facility there. If you are taking classes, some student is doing wrong, then we can record the things. But even sometimes some teachers are teaching in the classroom, so many mischievous students, they do a lot of things. Then what happens? So we resolve those things. So take it as a challenge. It's according to me that live teaching and this online teaching is 100% same in some manners. Their students listen us here also, they can listen, they can view us, they can in the same way, video is visible. Even in this, sometimes in our schools, we have only few classes as smart classrooms, but here we have 100% smart classes. You can show your PPT, you can share your screen, you can show them any video, you can share your handwritten paper, everything is there. So according to me, we all present here are at least someone at 25 plus 30, 40 in this age. It means we started our career, our education when there was no technology or little bit technology was there. So this is the inability which we are showing, that resistance is there. It's like inertia, that the body at rest wants to at rest. Only this is the external force which is now applicable on us during this period. So take it as a positive force and we will find a good solutions in the future.
Can I say something, sir? With
Yes.
permission?
Ji.
Lily ma'am, I just want to say one thing. Grade 9 students are grown up, right? So we can make them them as co-partners or collaborators. We can plan with them. I think then the feeling of threat, I think so that it will not come, because then everything will be mutual. So they'll take ownership of something, you'll take ownership of something. So it will be in collaboration. I think this can be one of the ways in which, if rather than seeing them as student and at the receiving end, if we see them as co-partners, I think things can work.
Yeah, right. Okay. So the last question is coming from Daljit Kaurji. Daljit ji, you can ask your question and then we'll conclude the session.
First of all, I only want to share my views that I hear from the lecture from the many good consultators, and from the as the teachers ask the question that how many problems they face. I only want to share my views that if we work under a good management, then as the teachers feel that they feel this work as a stress, that 2 or 3 lectures they can work as more period, how can they work? They face many problems, but if they can work under good management, then the
I think
Daljit ji, you are not audible.
I think the video stopped. I think the video.
Yeah, video has stopped, but okay. I think we can now conclude the session. I would like to say a few things before I request Shilpa to conclude the session. As many of the panelists mentioned that this is not the new normal, right? This is just a phase. We all are learning, we all are struggling, right? But this particular phase is showing us a path to new learning. We can very well see that some of the schools are able to execute online learning programs better than other programs. They are more contained. They are not in a state of panic. Why is this happening? Why are many schools, all these schools have different contexts. I understand that. But we also have to reflect on a few things. when we move out of this particular phase. One, how do we perceive students? How do we perceive our teachers, and how do we perceive our parents? And how could we do it differently to make even this kind of time more fruitful for all of us, for all the stakeholders? I think this is one major question that we all can reflect on. So I would now request Shilpa to conclude the session and thank all the panelists and participants. Shilpa?
Yeah, allow me to take the opportunity to thank all the panelists and participants on the behalf of Weaver Education Solutions and Jia Modern Technologies Private Limited. We sincerely hope that we were able to provide answers to some of the challenges you may be facing. We will be emailing the key points of the webinars to you soon. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Thanks.